The Thorium Mod is one of the largest complete gameplay overhauls for Terraria. It introduces new NPCs, enemies, bosses, and with later updates, even a new biome. It's been consistently updated, and as it stands now, is an excellent mod of choice for people looking to mix up their vanilla Terraria experience. Thorium has some great bosses that pose a serious challenge if you fight them at the stage of the game they're intended, but which ones are the best? How's it going, crew? This is Happy Days, and today we're looking at my personal top 5 Thorium bosses. This list will be focusing on the expert versions of these bosses and consider things such as difficulty, required equipment to fight them, and finally, how good is their loot. With that said, let's get started. I love early game bosses. You fight them at a time when your character is still low on hit points, doesn't have great mobility items yet, and is generally still lacking in the damage dealing department. I also really like bosses that progressively get more difficult as the fight goes on, and the Grand Thunderbird is a worthy early game battle. Hovering above the player and spawning hatchlings, this boss is low on hit points but high on damage and has a variety of attacks by shooting lightning, causing tornadoes, and gaining a rapid feather attack when it drops below 50% health. It's very advised to create platforms off the ground to avoid the tornadoes. This boss goes absolutely crazy attacking the player just before it dies, and it can totally catch you off guard if you're not quite ready for it. It does drop a variety of nice weapons, but its expert exclusive drop, the Talon Burst, is an incredibly powerful bow to acquire if you can manage to defeat it. The space biome in Terraria has so much potential. Currently it's just a few lonely floating islands, but if you venture up there in Thorium, you can battle the Star Scouter. Like the Grand Thunderbird, this boss ramps up its attacks as the battle goes on, and the first time I fought it, I totally underestimated it based on the early stages of the fight. On Expert mode, when this boss drops below 25% hit points, it summons 3 Scouter Cores which attack the player. A great tip for fighting this boss is after summoning it, lure it to the ground where you can move a lot faster without the floaty gravity effect in space. This boss drops a fantastic summon weapon called the Distress Caller, which is kind of like a powered up Crimson Rod, and its expert exclusive drop is an amazing pet called the Omega Drive, which acts like a Xenostaff UFO summon, making it incredibly powerful to get early in the game. Thorium really gives the throwing class some much needed love and makes it viable to play a throwing character in hard mode. After defeating a mech boss, you can craft the summoning item for the Lich, but make no mistake, this boss is tough, and you may want to wait a while before challenging it. The Lich tries to ram the player whilst creating projectiles for you to avoid. This is the first boss in the Thorium mod that creates a real bullet hell, where you'll find yourself being overwhelmed by projectiles on screen, and it becomes a balancing act of trying to deal with the Lich whilst avoiding all of those attacks. In Expert mode, the Lich fully heals and gains a second form when you defeat it, gaining a massive damage boost as well as the phylactery of 1,000 souls. This annoying little summon makes the Lich almost invincible, so the player then has to try and kill that before they can deal with the Lich. It drops some nice loot, with a standout throwing weapon being the Soul Cleaver. This is an auto-swing, high-speed throwing weapon that you can actually reforge. Enemies killed by it drop a soul fragment, which boosts your damage even further. Next on our list is a boss that I totally love the design of. It's tough, it's fast, and you can fight it practically at the start of hard mode. It's Cosnix the Fallen Beholder. You fight this boss in the underworld, which gives you lots of room to make a nice arena, and you're going to need it as the Fallen Beholder loves to chase after you while spamming magical attacks. As its health drops, it begins to summon deadly void gates that rain lasers down on the player and can make the fight quite intense as you try to avoid the wall of death. In Expert mode, defeating the boss reveals its second form, giving it extra HP and sending it on a rampage. However, its attacks stay mostly the same, so just keep dodging and hopefully you'll survive. It drops a fantastic expert-only summon, the Beholder Staff, and while it costs 2 summon slots to cast, the Beholder deals immense damage to slow-moving targets. My favourite item by far from this boss, however, is the Devil's Carapace. This insane accessory is one of my favourite items from the Thorium mod, and if you die while you've got it equipped, the Devil's Carapace will restore you to 100 hit points and allow you to keep fighting with all of your buffs still active. The effect does have a 2-minute cooldown, but it can help you get those clutch wins against difficult bosses. Making these boss lists is always difficult, as I often feel there's a certain expectation that the final or the most powerful boss should always be number 1. In Thorium's case, however, the Ragnarok is totally deserving of the top spot and is an extreme post-Moon Lord challenge for players wanting to fight it. The Ragnarok is actually 3 separate bosses, each with their own unique attacks and abilities. To stand a chance against this boss, you need to move fast and have some insanely powerful weapons at your disposal. If you'd like some more info on how to actually battle this boss, I've got a link to my general Ragnarok tips video in the description, and I also recommend you read up about them on the Thorium wiki as well. If you manage to defeat the 3 bosses on expert mode, they fuse together to become Dying Reality, the Ragnarok. This final form has 200,000 hit points and 125 defense, making it extremely tanky, and it uses all of its previous attacks on you plus new ones. Beating Ragnarok on Expert gets you the special Dormant Hammer material, which can then be crafted into an insanely powerful endgame weapon, Mjolnir, which should definitely be used to get revenge on Ragnarok, or just have some fun picking on earlier game bosses. Well, there you have it folks, my personal top 5 Thorium bosses. Which is your favourite boss on the list? There's a card on screen now to cast your vote. And how did my list compare with yours? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to give reasons for your list too. If you'd like to check out some of my Thorium-based Let's Plays, there's some links in the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button with a cookie, and consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. And here's the most important part, as always, you'll stay happy, and I'll see you soon. This is Happy Days signing out. See ya!